All right. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? There we go. So, I really feel like something is coming. Something that hasn't happened yet before. And I think it's going to be like a 2020 level event. Much like 2020, but different thing. And I think the people are going to be shocked, and all the normies are going to get swept in to it again. And I think it's going to be bigger than 2001. I think it's going to be, at least that's the plan. I think the plan is it's for it to be bigger than 2001, bigger than Pearl Harbor, bigger than 2020, and all the others perhaps even combined. And I think the people who are poised with their millions of dollars in the right assets, getting ready, or with a little bit of pre-knowledge, are going to make bank. And there are going to be new grifters and new people becoming famous from this. This is the next 2020 like event, and we've had many of these in just the past 38 years. I think that to say that these things don't happen is nonsense. Obviously, these reoccurring, alternating utopia projects, psyops, keep happening. And I think that it's important to be aware and to see all the signs and try to predict what it is, so you're not surprised when it happens. At the very least, do not trust the government, whichever government is the one that's trying to convince you that it's God, whether it's European government, UK, Australia, United States, Canada, or your Southeast Asian government, your whatever government you live near. Don't trust them. It Chances are, if it's a government outside of the United States, they'll just be listening to the United States government and following their lead. And it's going to be still a central choke point where the information is let out, just like with 2020 and the media. And we saw how the internet and third parties poked holes in their narratives, but all the normies still walked in tow and got the pokey wokey. Just like the past 375 years of the jib jab. And it's important to realize that, I mean, this is how it's always been with Pearl Harbor, with World War II, with World War I, the war to end all wars, with every other event before that. And after that, these major events, I call them psyops, chapters, they're each a crisis manufactured or oopsie daisied into existence. And after they're in existence, they just fit so perfectly into the elite's plans to consolidate power, hoard resources, make the millionaires billionaires, and the people less than millionaires poor, desolate, broke, get them on drugs, go in Z-Pod, eat Z-Bugs, shoot up heroin. You'll wank off to your AI girlfriend. You'll own nothing. Eat Z-Bugs, DIE, your carbon, you hateful big OT. It all belongs to us. Reduce your carbon, it must be closer to zero. Zero carbon, no footprint. While we, the elites, get to eat steak on our private jets. So there's this thing that's been happening for the past 300 or so years, where Actually, it's a lot longer than that. It's basically the cycle of, and part of the cycle of empires, Ouroboros. But like, what happens is they keep trying to create an empire, and then they pass it on. When they fail, they pass on to the next generation of elites. The new elites also try to create an empire, a one world empire, a government that spans the whole world with a singular religion, a singular culture that controls all the different multicultural, all the races, all the groups. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is look at history to prove me wrong. Good luck. I'll give you the rest of your life. We have Babylon, Sumer, we have ancient Greece, Rome, the unholy Roman Empire, England, and now the Seventh Kingdom, the United States of America. And what they're pivoting that into, and they have been since the foundation of the United Nations, is what I call the Utopia Project. They basically clung on to the idea of the book Utopia, which means no place. It was a satire written by ancient Greek philosopher who's like, what would be the perfect plateau society where everything is controlled from the top down, and how would that work? Turns out it doesn't. Human beings suck at micromanagement. They suck at, control. The free market is great at control because it's 8 billion souls making their own decisions. Works a lot better than 500,000 or whatever elites making all the decisions. And a few of the elites who were on the inside but felt a little guilty wrote a few books about how their friends thought it would happen and what they were working on. 1984, A Brave New World, Fahrenheit, and other books like these have encapsulated the elites' plans, but shown how perhaps they don't have the best intentions, and perhaps these plans won't even happen the way they want them to, and it might result in a totalitarian, authoritarian dictatorship, infinite wars, doublespeak, lies of propaganda, and you can see how we're actually living. We already lived through. See, 1984 wasn't 1984. 2001 is what began Brave New World. We're living in it. Those things don't end. The never-ending wars don't go away. We always have never-ending wars. The soma of the cell phone always is here, and the burning of good books, but indoctrination and pushing of the Marxist Jewish literature is always happening. The active measures of our own elites: introduction, normalization, demoralization, destabilization, crisis. And then introduction, normalization, demoralization, destabilization, and crisis. And then introduction, normalization. Do you know what's next? Demoralization, destabilization, and crisis. We've already gone through at least 5 of these cycles. It can't just be a coinkydink. You had World War II. You had World War I, which, by the way, the whole point of it being called the War to End All Wars is they were trying to bring out world peace. They established the League of Nations for the point of creating a one world government. That fell apart, so they created United Nations to create a one world government. World War II, well, we have America as the empire instead. Okay, how can we work with that? Corporations. Now corporations can maybe do a better job. We're still not at a one government for the entire world, but what we're at is all the major governments cooperating to bring about the next stage of Kampfe. So I've talked about this before, and for some reason nobody can get it right, but you never lived in a democracy. There are no democracies on planet Earth. They use the no-speak term democracy when they're talking about socialism. When they talk about actual democracy, the real thing that doesn't need an adjective, they say the word direct democracy. Just like when they say Semite, they don't mean people descended from Shem. They mean specifically a specific kind of person who may or may not be descended from Shem, who may or may not be religious, who may or may not have culture, who may or may not one of 15 different things. And only those, the one and only protected category of group of people on the right, establishment, can use that word. It's no speak, just like the word gender. It's no speak. But here today, we have real speak. I think what they've been trying to do with their jib jabs and now the pokey wokey, which is the M&M Manon A, and with the wars and the crises every 20 years, it's almost like clockwork. What they do is, see, every time there's one of these new crises, there's a new war, and they get more power, and they're writing a new directive that takes more freedoms away. Patriot Act, Directive 51, the second version of the Patriot Act, the tax acts, the taking away all the weapons and stuff, and COVID, there was just so much. Basically, what I'm saying is, Pearl Harbor what was the next one? The civil crisis, perhaps. The 1960s, the 70s, Vietnam War, maybe. The 80s and 90s, there was some desert wars, and then 2001, and then 3 generations of the C virus later, 2020. So most likely, somewhere around 2030, maybe even as early as 2028, or as late as 2050, there's going to be another event. I think it's going to start. I think it's already started. But I think it's going to wrap up next year. And by the 2028 election cycle, what a quinkydink, I think either then or in 4 years from then, the 2032 election will be in the full swing of it. Now, will it just be 1 year like Covfefe? Oh, but you just do your job. Or will it be, I think it might be a little longer, and I don't know specifically what it is, but people have predicted the ones in the past, so I feel like we should be able to do this. 2001 was predicted, 9/11 was predicted by Alex Jones 6 months in advance. Either they at least use them as their priest to confess their sins. Well, he's really good at navigating the internet and finding out clues and stuff. But there had been attacks on those buildings before, so there was enough data to suggest maybe there would be another, but that it would be a false flag incident to create more power and more so on and so forth. I don't know what Alex Jones is saying about this right now. I'd like a response to this from him, but I think we have a few options of what the next crisis is going to be. I think the first, I don't think it'll be another C virus. They did that 3 times, not once. You got to be aware of what happens in the rest of the world too sometimes, Americans. 2002, the CDC patented something, a C virus. And in 2003, oopsie daisy, Southeast Asia has an outbreak of a C virus. And then, in 2013, Resident Evil 5, I'm joking, but it was around there, I think. I think it was 2010, Resident Evil 5. And that's when the C virus in the game, that's why I say C virus, because it just works. I mean, we're basically just living in Resident Evil. And I'm trying to have my head straight. Basically, what we have is one final... let me pull up the browser. We have 2020, MERS in 2015, and we have in 2020 we had the third iteration. Now they did 3 times. I think they'll do something different this time. I mean, I think it'll be a different complete accident. Whoopsie daisy, whoopsie wowsy, woozy woozy, ooh hoo oh yay. And I think this new one is going to have to I think there's 3 options. Either will be something like a pandemic, but maybe a little bit more synthetic, or it's going to be Civil War II / World War III, or what I hinted at a previous content drop earlier this week. I think that is a very serious possibility. And let's look at my oh, that's what click is. Okay, so then we can get to Resident Evil 5. When did it come out? (2009) And then Resident Evil 6, which also has a C virus, came out in 2012. Yeah, maybe you need to get good, but like, that's what they always tell me. But like, if you play it on easier level difficulty and you get used to the bosses, and then you play on the harder level difficulty and you upgrade your weapons, get infinite ammo, it becomes a breeze. It's the best Resident Evil. It's the greatest Resident Evil. They will never make a Resident Evil as good as Resident Evil 5. I don't want them to make a remake. I don't want them to make a remaster. It's perfect the way it is. It's already into HD, whatever. But they should make a game like Resident Evil 2 or 3, or this campaign in 5 and 6, just Helena's campaign. I've been enjoying that. I do not enjoy Chris's or any of the other campaigns, but mostly just Helena's campaign because it's slower paced, I guess. Not so many quick time events. So in this third option, I think there's many things it could be. They have a lot of things to pull from. But I think they've been working on a PSYOP for 50 years, and I think this might be, it might just be the next one. And this is UFO, yeah. So basically, I think F11. I don't have F11. I mean, I don't want to push the button. It's too much work. So basically, I think what happened is in 2000 and in 1950, whatever it was, since I could be wrong, but I think for the most part, the new outbreak of UFO sightings came from 1950s Roswell. I think the most logical hypothesis is that they had in World War 1944, 1945, they raided Nazi technology. The Nazis did in fact have UFO flying saucer ships, whether or not they worked. There's pictures of them and stuff. There may have been some sightings before World War II, not that I'm aware of, but I think what might have happened, this is probably the most plausible canon hypothesis, is that after the Allies won, America took all the tech and the doctors and the crazy scientists of Nazi-dom and Operation Paperclip, and then also all the Jews who were there in Germany, the ones who were the ones that Hitler didn't like, and the ones that the communist ones too, the communist Jews, they all came over to America, and then also the Nazis came over to America. So America took in the Jews and the Nazis, and the commie Jews, and the Jews, which were the elite, not necessarily religious Jews. So everyone joined America, and the government was like, "We'll take you all. We'll use you all for our own good, or evil." And NASA was founded by a Nazi, and I don't know if he was a good guy or not, but he was definitely working for them. And then he was working for NASA. And 1950s, I think what happened is the United States had one of those technologies from Nazi Germany, and maybe that was what crashed. And then an idea came into the head of the elites. Maybe it didn't quite happen like this. It's hard to figure out the truth, but if we can use this as a bit of a, where is the basically, if we can use this, something's telling me that's not what happened. There was an event in 1950s Roswell. Some people think it was a UFO from outer space. Some people think it was a balloon. But regardless, what we do know is they seized Nazi technology. Some of Nazi technology was like UFOs. They also have controlled the narrative around UFOs and all the leakers. And since then, they've been seeding us with information. More recently, tons of information about the vagueness of these vague UFOs and stuff. Normalizing us to the concept of little gray aliens from outer space and UFOs from other dimensions. Now, the opposite of the color yellow laser sky, might not quite be. I think they don't need lasers, and that's probably the last and only time. Probably won't bring that up again, but they don't need lasers now that they have real drone technology. And what we saw there in the East Coast, tons of drones, different kinds. It's possible that they'll go ahead and use this as one of the next psyops. Basically, there'll be final confirmation of first contact with a being from not here, and they'll say, okay, we got to fight them or make peace with them, but either way, we got to have more power. Or it'll be continuation of the gaslighting. Oh, are there aliens? Are there not aliens? Oh, some people are being abducted. Oh no, wait, we. But it's going to have to come probably no sooner than 2050 or 2041, because I think people are still not ready to have, the normies aren't ready for the normie position to be there's aliens. And so that will probably be 2050 if they ever decide to use it. And whether they have holographic technology or just drones in the sky, and then they film some CGI aliens and then say everyone repeats the tour. Well, aliens are real. Aliens came and visited us. Oh, aliens, they're peaceful, mostly peaceful. But the one thing is, they said that there's another race of aliens coming. And if we don't give the government more power, those aliens will eat everyone's burgers, and then they'll eat everyone's earlobes, and then everyone will be earlobeless. And something like that. But probably not until 2050 for that. I don't know how they could push it in faster. But they're ramping up so much more UFO stuff that it's like they might do it in the 2040s instead. However, in 2028, which is the here and now, from now till 2028, they're going to keep on ramping up UFO stuff. Maybe they'll go with World War III, Civil War II, something. Now, they did the pandemics to death. They did terrorist attacks. Those things happen just a quinkity, I'm sure. But all the cataclysms, the catastrophes aren't the same every time. That doesn't work to have the same catastrophe every time, because people realize that the probability of that happening is insane. So it's probably not going to be like the others. And the people who didn't fall for the last psyop, the last catastrophe, will probably fall for this one. Many of them. So I think the important thing now is to follow people like me who are skeptical the fuck out of everything, question everything, and you yourself don't trust the government, don't trust the media, don't trust the politicians or the celebrities or just about anyone, okay? Understand, they probably only need 3 to 5 more minor to major events to create their Utopia project. Mind you, they've been working on it since World War II, and it takes a while. I would say one event, probably not. One minor event and a major event, maybe still not enough. Because we've shown in America how people still want freedom. So 3 events, bare minimum. 2 minor and 1 major, for them to be able to bring about the finalization of the Utopia project. If you want another content drop about the Utopia project, feel free to put a comment follow, and stay here for more content like this. But I think in 2025, 6, 7, there's going to be at least one minor event, probably 2 by the end 2028, and then whether it starts happening next year, which is kind of early, or which I do think there's something really big going on in the next year, or by the end in 2028, there's definitely going to have to be another big thing like 2020. It might happen in 2025, but it's more likely to happen in 2028 with smaller events scattered before. And if they just went all in 2025, I don't think it's going to work out for them very well. But we'll see. Something big is coming, and you better be ready. Now is the time. You think you're out of the woods. You think the clouds are clearing, but you're in the eye of the storm. And I think now is the time to stock up on everything. Go to the woods. Get out of the cities. Because Civil War II, World War III, Independence Day, 1776 Part 2, Alien Invasion, Civil, Sex, Culture, Race, War, 9, Armageddon. The apocalypse is about to begin. Thank you for hanging out with me. And make sure that you try to look at everything really skeptically in the future. The light is going out. Good